Good to see everybody here tonight. We thank you for coming. And if you didn't know where Rockfish was before you got here, you will before you leave. Because this is about the greatest place in anywhere around that I know to live. We got some people lived here a while that were highway patrollers and different things like that, and they still leave, but they show back up sooner or later for some reason. But it is good to see all you all here tonight. We thank you for coming. I hope you're going to get some of your questions answered. Some of the speeches that are made will enlighten you as to what's going to take place in the coming year. So if you would, before we get started, let's have a word of prayer and then we'll move on, okay? Father, as we stop tonight, it's a time that we pause and honor you. And Lord, as we do honor you, we thank you for your love. We thank you for what you do for us on a daily basis. Things we're not even aware of, Lord. We just kind of seem to expect it, and you always come through. Now we pray that you would be in this meeting, help us to learn things that would help us as time goes along. In Jesus' name, amen. Brother Larry? You guys,
Thank you so much, Mr. Brock. I'm Larry Chasen, and I want to thank all of you all for coming tonight. This is what we call a meet and greet the candidates. Meet and greet. Somebody said, Larry, how did you come up with that? Simple. We're going to meet and we're going to greet. But the reason I came up with this idea because we're going into a time of not only to the state of North Carolina, but the county of Hoke, where people need to be aware of what's going on. They need to be aware of who our leaders are, what our leaders are doing for us, and we need to know about it. Years past, so many people have gone to vote, and they go in and pull a ballot, and they mark a block, stick it in the block box, and walk out. We need to stop that. So there's no other better place than to have a meet and greet right here at Rockfish. I want to thank you all for coming. And before we go, let me explain how we're going to work this. We've got candidates for the district court, senator, maybe there might be a congressman in here, Board of Education, the sheriff, and the commissioners. We're going to go in alphabetical order with each one of the categories. We decided, the board did, that we'd give everybody 10 minutes with their time frame. We'd like for you to keep your comments anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. There might be a couple of questions. Answer the questions very briefly, because we don't want to stay to midnight. Because I know some of you didn't come prepared because it might snow. The only thing we do have to offer you tonight, if you have to stay, we have coffee and we have water. And we do have a roof over our heads tonight to keep us from getting wet. So I would appreciate if you stay within those time frames. I do ask that when you are called up to speak, that you will present yourself in a professional manner, in a manner that you would want your citizens of Hoke County to be proud of. That's the reason for this tonight. So at this time, we're going to begin, but before we do this, right now the election is up in the air. According to a bird dog that I had in Raleigh, the filing will begin on the 24th. The election's supposed to begin on June the 7th. That's all tentative. That's subject to change at the hands of the governor. So right now, we don't know. But we do, and I will tell you this, we will have a couple of more of these. Because it's very important to our community as a whole of Rockfish. We feel like we play a very important part of the growth of Hoke County. We have houses coming. We're looking at some other things going on. We have different organizations that are doing a lot of good positive things for our community. And we feel like that we need to have a handshake of what's going on. So enough said, we'll get down to business. I'd like to recognize those that are running for the district court judges, one at a time, 6 to 8 minutes, and a question. So we'll begin. any district court judges? Okay, if you'll stand, one at a time.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. And when you come up here, I want you to take the microphone and sing a verse of a song and then song.
Hey everybody, can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'm Beth Tanner and I am running for District Court Judge. So District Court is where you go to court. So I tell a lot of people, we talk a lot about big constitutional issues like voter integrity and even what's happening with our election right now and who's on the Supreme Court. And these things are really important. But you are not probably going to go to the Supreme Court. You are probably going to go to district court. That's where traffic tickets are. It's where if you get a divorce, that's where that's handled. So where your kid's gonna live, does dad have a right to custody? It's if your teenager gets in trouble. I have a 15-year-old, y'all pray for me, it's a girl. It's a lot right now. That's where that happens. If you're the victim of a misdemeanor crime, that's where you go. So that judge is who you are going to see. So all those big important constitutional issues, they matter, but those are the issues that touch you. So your constitutional right to be protected as a victim happens in district court. I'm running for district court judge. People ask me this all the time, why are you running? What are you going to do? I'm running because that is where children and families go. We have another child, an 11-year-old. She has autism, and I've represented clients in district court. And I recognize that on the bench, there were not a ton of judges who understood what it was like to have a child that had needs. So I decided it was time to do that. I work right now for a state agency. It's a criminal justice agency, so I'm in charge of moving a calendar forward, making sure that we get justice right. I'm already working in that way, and I intend to take that experience to the bench, okay? So, there's another important thing about this election. There are 3 seats up for election. The district is Moore and Hope counties, okay? So, whoever you elect, those 3 seats, they're going to cover not just Hope County, also Moore County, okay? So, they're going to be representing all of you guys. Filing has been open for like a week. It was open, and then it was closed. Hopefully it'll be reopened at some point. In those 3 seats, there is a candidate filed in each seat. And that's it. So as of right now, no candidate that is up for district court but in those 3 seats has an opponent. Hopefully it'll stay that way. I understand that's the best way to win, is unopposed. That's what I've heard. So I do really hope that. The only other thing you should really know about me, and I would love to answer questions, is I really do believe in the Constitution and the law as it is written. That's really important. Here's why. I've been an attorney for a while, longer than I'd like to admit at this point. I have to use the special cream on my eyes. But when you meet with a client, you tell that client, this is what the law says about your case. So when you go to a judge, you want the judge to follow the law you just told your client is what the law says. If a judge decides they don't want to follow the law because they didn't like it, or they wish the Constitution said something different so they'll make that up too, your client is not going to get a fair outcome. The best example of that is in a divorce. If you get a divorce and your neighbor gets a divorce and the 2 of y'all have the exact same facts, you shouldn't come home with nothing, and he comes home with a really big house, okay? That's just not how it should work. It should be fair. So I do really believe in that. We have members of the General Assembly here. They write law. Judges do not. Judges follow law, and that's what I believe. Okay, that's about me, and I'd love to take any questions if y'all have any.
Okay?
No.
Let's go ahead. Thank you so much. Now we have one more.
Yes, sir. Thank you there. Good evening, everybody. My name is Warren McSweeney. I am currently one of your 4 district court judges that represent Moore and Hope County. Fortunately, and with the thanks to Senator Britt and the other members, ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, Moore and Hoke County will now have 5 district court judges starting in January of 2023. So as Beth said, there are currently 3 spots up this year. There's the new spot that was created, plus 2 additional judges. And all 3 of us, as Beth said, we've all filed, and fingers crossed, that's how it stays. I am, just a little bit about myself, I am a 20-year service with the state of North Carolina. I began my career as a prosecutor in the DA's office in 2001. I quickly rose up and started prosecuting armed robberies, murder cases, did a lot of stuff in district court, and had the opportunity in 2018 to run for district court judge. And I sought that opportunity, and fortunately, I won, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be a judge for the last 3 years or so. I'm a big believer in judges matter, and it matters who your judges are. It matters that a judge who you go before is going to be fair and impartial and is going to treat you just like he or she would treat the next person that comes in front of you. Regardless of what you look like, your race, where you're from, it is my job as a district court judge to treat everybody fair and impartial. And that's what I feel like I've done over the last 3 years. And even the 17 years as a prosecutor, even though there were times I go in front of a jury and ask people to convict somebody and tell somebody to go to jail, I know that's not always the best answer. So there has to be flexibility. I am a firm believer in the Constitution and upholding the Constitution. I am a firm believer in what the legislature passes the laws. It's not my job to get up there and say, well, I don't agree with the law, so I'm going to rule a certain way. It is my job as a district court judge to apply the facts that are presented to me and apply them to the law. So that's all the business stuff. That's all the judgy stuff, which I love doing. But a little bit about myself. I'm married to my wife, Melissa, who is from Hoke County. She is in the Locklear clan. Her father, Mr. Willett Bassett, was a teacher at Hoke County High for many, many years. She is the youngest of 6, and her older sister and her husband live here in Rockfish and actually pastor the church here, Pastor Gary Leviner, who unfortunately is not feeling well tonight. That's why he's not here. Otherwise, I have no doubt they'd be here, hopefully supporting their brother-in-law. But I have ties here. I've got family here. Her home church is Mount Elam. Go there quite often. So I love Hoke County. We live in Moore County, in our blended family of 6 kids, ranging from college to elementary school, have all gone to school in Moore County. So I love this area. I love the people. I love coming here. I love what I'm doing. As Beth said, hopefully whenever the filing period opens back up and then it closes, hopefully I will have nobody else beside my name. But if I do have a challenger, then so be it. And that's God's way. But I'd like to think God's will have me keep my seat. So I ask and I thank all of you for this opportunity, and I look forward to meeting all of you that I haven't before. We'll be happy to take any questions. I know we had 10 minutes, and attorneys, we like to talk, but I know when to pass the mic. So I will take any questions if anybody has anything. And again, thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you.
We have one more? Is there another one running? Judges. Okay, we'll move right on to the senator.
Thank you. Hey, my name's Danny Britt. I'm state senator representing Robinson and Columbus County. As of about 3 months ago, I'll now be representing Hoke, Scotland, and Robinson County. Born over in Robinson County, grew up in Bladen, spent most of my summers working in tobacco. Mama was a textile worker, Daddy was a state employee. He retired after 25 years with the state. Mother retired after about 30 years working at the plant. Went to undergrad at Appalachian State University, where I went on a football scholarship. Enlisted in the National Guard right before I did that at the age of 17 as a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout. I've been in since August 13, 1996, so I've spent 25 years in the Army National Guard. I'm still in. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I've moved from being a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout to 11 Bravo Infantry. and I'm a JAG officer now. I deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kuwait. My wife's a school teacher. She does 4th grade, also does testing curriculum at a charter over in Robeson County. We got 2 kids, 9 and 11. I worked as a prosecutor for about 5 years over in Robeson County, prosecuting violent felonies, major drug cases, did that. Then left, went out into private practice. I've been practicing law there for about 13 years now. Also have been running a real estate investment company for about 5 or 6 years. Still serving the National Guard. I'm part of Joint Special Operations Command over at Fort Bragg now, the Special Operations Detachment. And I'm in my 3rd term in the North Carolina Senate. I was first elected to the North Carolina Senate back in 2016. Whenever I first ran, the district I ran in was 72% registered Democrat, and I was running as a registered Republican. I will tell you that it was working with everybody that got me elected, and it's working with everybody from all parties, from all backgrounds, from all ethnic groups that has kept me in. And I'll tell you, that's what's important about serving in Raleigh. And one of the things a lot of people don't understand about serving up there is our largest battle serving in the legislature is not fighting folks from the other party. It's battling with folks who are from the urban areas and us from the rural areas. And that's where the biggest fight we have is trying to bring as much back to those rural areas as what we can, because so much of the representation in Raleigh comes from those urban areas. So it is that battle for the rural areas that often over trumps or over exceeds any battle that we have on party lines up in Raleigh. I'll tell you, some of the committees I serve on, I chair the Transportation Committee, I chair the Judiciary Committee, I chair the Justice and Public Safety Appropriations Committee, which appropriates any money for the court system, emergency management, the National Guard, Highway Patrol, any state agency that's a law enforcement agency. I also serve on the Healthcare Committee, serve on the Finance Committee, and serve on the Insurance and Commerce Committee. I also chair the Government Oversight Committee and chair the Flood Mitigation Committee. So I've got to wear a lot of hats while I'm in Raleigh. I wear a lot of hats whenever I'm back home. I've enjoyed serving the folks in Robeson and Columbus since 2016. I look forward to serving the folks here in Hoke and the folks in Scotland and continuing on this 4th term. Again, we run every 2 years, so it's almost like we're always running and we never stop. But know that I'm always available. I try to keep an open door. I try to make myself available for anybody to speak to come see anytime they have an issue. So again, I appreciate the folks here for putting this on, the folks here at the Rockfish Community Group for putting this on tonight. For any of you folks that came out, it's nasty weather. It'd be a whole lot easier to be laid up under a blanket tonight. So thank y'all for coming out and listening to all the candidates. And thank the Lord that we can have this opportunity to do this in this country.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
A question from the live stream. What is your position on repeat offenders and sentencing to fit the crime? Would you describe yourself as tough on crime or not so much?
So, I'm good, right? Can they hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So here's my position. I think that repeat offenders need to be punished harsh. I think that folks, that it's their first time offense, and so let me back up a little bit. So the way we have our structured sentencing guidelines now, okay, unless you're a repeat offender, you're really not going to get any time. What I think we need to do is I think we need to do a better job of punishing violent offenders more, non-violent offenders less. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of non-violent offenders that though they repeat, a lot of times the reason they're involved in the system in the first place is because of a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue. And if we don't address those issues with those individuals, they're right back out there again. And that's one of the things that I've worked on with some of the criminal justice reform that I've done is I've increased penalties for a lot of different crimes. But I've also tried to create safety valves for those folks who do have those substance abuse issues that they're dealing with so that we can ensure that those folks are getting out of that prison pipeline. But for those folks that are violent offenders and especially repeat violent offenders, we need to give them every day that we can.
If you could repeat your name one more time for the stream.
Danny Britt.
Senator Brett, and we should do the same whether they have COVID or not have COVID. I mean, like we're releasing a lot of violent offender repeated with this COVID release or something?
So, the Attorney General's office entered into an agreement without speaking to the legislature or anyone else, and without even notifying any of the victims of any violent crimes. They released close to 5,000 offenders, and about half of those offenders were offenders that had committed violent crimes. And that was an agreement that the Attorney General's office and Josh Stein entered without speaking to the victims, without speaking to any members of the General Assembly. That was something they did on their own, and of course, when they did it, they also told the General Assembly they did not need additional funding for additional probation officers to manage that new caseload, but then after the fact, came back and said they did. But whenever we had a committee meeting 6 months prior, said they didn't.
All right, thank you, let's give him a hand. Now, I think we have a congressman tonight, could not make it, Dan Bishop.
He was not gonna be able to make it.
Okay.
They've been in Washington all day.
Okay, they're in Washington. Now we will go to our House of Representatives, Ms. Melissa Swarback.
Rick, thank you.
All right, you gonna sing a song?
No, nobody wants me to do that. Good evening, my name is Melissa Swarbrick, and I'm running for the State House, District 48, which is Scotland and Hope counties. I'm running because I love this community. I grew up in North Carolina. I'm from Asheville. My parents are still in Asheville. And my husband and I, we're planning on living in Hope County for the rest of our lives. And I really believe I've come to a time in my life when I can help make this community even better. And I'll tell you about a few of the issues that I think we can address that will make our community better. I think we need to focus on community and economic development. We need to lure industries that with good paying jobs, young entrepreneurs, and small business owners to come to our community. I believe we need to work with our police and not against them. We need to be partners in solving the problem of crime. I also believe in school choice. In school choice, giving parents the idea of how their children should be educated, to me is very important. My sister was 4 years old. She had a kidney transplant. She lost the hearing in both ears due to some medication. 2 years later, when it was time to go to school, the teachers in our district said, she will not succeed. She can't go to school here. She should be at an institution. Well, my parents knew better. They knew what was right for her. They fought to get her into a school in a different district. They went to the school board. They went to their congressman. And they even wrote to the governor. Well, they won that fight. 20 years later, she graduated with her PhD from Michigan State and went on to being a successful teacher at Michigan State and Westchester University in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I also believe we need to solve the real problem of the digital divide. This is 2022, and there's people in our community that still don't have reliable and affordable internet. You all know what happened when the pandemic hit. They sent the kids home. They sent a lot of business owners home, and they expected the kids to do their work from home, but that did not happen. They did not have the internet access that they needed. We can do better than that. We need to fight, and we need to be selfish and fight for our community to finally end that problem once and for all. Second reason I chose to run is leadership. I believe in a leader who is hardworking, honest, ethical, that listens to people, and is not afraid to take up the tough battles. I have been spending the last 2 months going out into the community and talking with nonprofits, with small business owners, and with our community leaders. They all tell me the same thing. They have a list of issues and problems and challenges that they have not solved. You look at the incumbent in this position, he's been in office for 9 terms, almost 18 years, and they still have all these issues. I'm sorry, I think it's time for someone else to take a shot at it.
Amen.
I think it's time for change.
Yes.
I'm gonna be that change. And finally, I had the opportunity to talk with our great Congressman Dan Bishop when I decided to run, and he thanked me for having courage, the courage to jump into this race. But I don't think it takes courage to run in an election. It doesn't take courage to become part of the status quo in Raleigh. What it does take courage to do is to meet with people that don't want to talk to you, to meet with people and talk over issues and find out how we can work for the people in the community. That takes courage. A good leader will talk with everyone.
Yes.
I'm going to be a champion for civic engagement. I want everybody to get involved, because that's what is going to make our community better. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
You mentioned school choice. This is my personal question,
Okay.
not from the live stream. In my experience, school choice generally refers to a parent's right to choose either a private school or homeschool their children. Currently in North Carolina, there's almost no ability for a parent to do that in an effective way. What is your position on that?
I really think that parents need to be able to choose. Out of the district, in the district, there are children who have needs that cannot be met in the school that they're currently going to. I think that we need to make it easier for parents to choose a school that works for their children.
And that would include the homeschool.
Yes.
And do you have a plan or an idea on how to make that happen?
Well, I think we need to work together as a community, and we need to find ways to make sure that there's funding for what we need, and to make sure that parents understand their responsibilities, and same with teachers. My mother was a teacher, my sister was a teacher. I believe in supporting teachers, but I think parents have the right to decide where their children should go to school. Yes,
2
sir.
minutes. 2 minutes.
What about the gaming in the state?
The gaming, I'm not a big fan of gambling, but I know that there's a place for it. I really don't know enough about it to answer that question. I know that it's heavily regulated as far as I know, but I don't really have an opinion on it right now, one way or the other, to be honest. All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, is there anyone here that did not sign up that's on the Board of Education? Okay. Now we'll go to the candidate for sheriff.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Stevie Joe. I'm a candidate for sheriff here in Hope County. Been in law enforcement for approximately 40-plus years. I've been a trooper. I retired from being a trooper. After retiring from being a trooper, I started working for a local department. I reached the rank of lieutenant in that department, and also after that, I started working for the federal government. I am now fully retired. However, I still want to work in some type of capacity when it comes to law enforcement, and I decided to come back and be the sheriff of Hope County. The reason why we need a sheriff of Hope County, with my experience, is because I have the knack of getting along with everybody. I believe I know most of everybody here in the audience. So you know what kind of person that I am. You know what I stand for. I fully stand for. And I'm a common sense kind of person. I don't necessarily believe in what is written on paper, but however, I still have the common sense knowledge to get the job done. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina. My grandparents were farmers. My dad was a barber, and he had his own business. Shortly after that, he moved up north to Baltimore, Maryland. My mother worked in the textile business. She worked in the textile business up until the time that she retired, and she started gaining her Social Security at that time. However, like I said, with those work ethics that I witnessed through my parents, they gave me the same kind of work ethics that I have now. Understand this, if you hire me as a sheriff, we have a contract, a bonded contract, and that contract tells you to be treated fairly no matter what type of person that you come from, what type of background that you come from. It doesn't make a difference to me. I still show the same respect for the man that makes $1 million for the man that makes $25 a day. So it really doesn't matter to me. I've been doing this job, like I said, 40 plus years, and I am very, very excited for the opportunity. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
You know, I got some questions.
Yes, sir.
The first one from the live stream community refers to the growing drug problem in Hope County. Do you have a plan to address that problem?
Yes, number one, we should talk about education. Education, trying to teach people what is the best route for us getting off of drugs. Should we pay for that? Well, I believe that and this is for the lawmakers pretty much, but I believe that the law should be set up where they can allow someone or help that individual pay for his own education when it comes to getting free of drugs.
Appreciate that. This question's for me, referencing the issue of gun rights and concealed carry permits. North Carolina is currently a shall issue state, meaning the sheriff cannot deny the issuance of a concealed permit unless he has a very good reason, meaning that individual has failed a background check or something of that nature.
Okay.
What is your position on that?
I think everybody should have the right to bear arms if they're not a felon. If they're a felon, then no, they shouldn't be allowed to carry a firearm in the state of North Carolina or in the United States, period. But I'm a gun owner, I have multiple guns. And I believe that I feel like it's something that is needed, especially in these days and time with the way that crime is happening throughout the country. I believe that the crime rate here in this county is pretty high compared to the size throughout the national average. So I think we need to be tough on these individuals that break these laws. And if it's up to me, then hopefully I'll be able to allow to enforce those laws.
Follow-up question, since you mentioned felons.
Yes, sir.
There are many people in this nation, myself included, that believe that once a person has served their time and their duty to and their obligation to the public, even if they're felons, after a certain period of grace period, say 10 years, 5 years, it runs the gambit on spread, depending on who you talk to. That individual should eventually be able to regain their constitutional rights.
Yes, I believe so too, unless it's a violent crime.
And that's permanent, no matter how long it's been.
If there's a significant violent crime, yes.
Even if that person has been to prison, served their time and their duty to the community.
If that person has done a violent crime such as murder, and yes, I believe so.
1 minute.
I got a question. What about the gang problem in this county that kind of been pushed down on drugs? There's markers all over here, back stop signs on buildings and whatnot.
Let me talk a little bit about my background, back up a little ways about my background. When I first became a trooper in Scotland County, my responsibility was not just be a trooper to get out and write tickets and not be a part of the community. What I did was, when I first got to the county, I noticed that all the troopers that I was working with wasn't mentors, because they were married and they had children of their own, and I can understand that. I was a single man, didn't have a girlfriend at the time, so what I did was I got with a lady who was in charge of the mentoring program. When you're involved in the community such as mentoring, you can help these children to understand that this is not the route that they need to have. So like I stated before, mentoring is very, very important, and it discourages the gangs. Because what they're looking for, I'm talking about gang members, is a reason to belong. So if we get out here and do our part as an adult, then yes, we can discourage about individuals wanting to be involved in a gang.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. Time is up.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go into a lengthy time where we've got a number that's running for county commissioner. Now, does everybody understand the reasoning that, so far, why we're here?
Yes.
How many of you learned something tonight? That's what it's all about, is learning. So we're gonna begin with the county commissioners, and at this time, Mr. Carlton Barber will come up, keep your comments 6 to 8 minutes, with 2 minutes for questions.
I'd like to give honor to my Lord and personal Savior, my wife, Wanda Barber, which is my campaign manager, and the good people here at the Rockfish Community Board, as well as Mr. Larry Chasen. My name is Evangelist Carlton Barber, and there's one thing that I believe makes a really good leader. A leader should be able to serve all people of the human race. Leadership is not an elevator. Leadership is a process of stairs that one must go through and climb up as they make their way into becoming a leader. I know a lot about climbing through obstacles and a lot about climbing stairs to learn about human nature of people. I'm an evangelist, a gospel singer, a promoter, and a humanitarian. I am a former Hope County High School student, and I ran track and field, did discus, was on the yearbook staff along with Mrs. Shepherd, was on the debate team, as well as the gospel choir. I recently moved back to Hope County about 1 year and 3 months ago. And I have noticed now more than ever that a great, honest, accountable, transparent change is long overdue. Not words, vain promises, but more work and less talk. That's my campaign slogan. More work and less talk. I have attended meetings in which the commissioners will drop the gavel the very minute that you, the good citizens of Hope County, decide to voice your opinions, ask questions, want to know the ins and outs of matters that are being handled. We need to cut wasteful spending. I just want to ask you, why in the world would we build a swimming pool that's a multi-million-dollar facility in the midst of a global pandemic, in which we have struggling elderly people cannot even afford to pay for their medication? We have children that are going without. I believe, again, that a leader should first serve the great people of Hope County. And since my short time of only 1 year and a couple months, that is what I have done with the help of God. You all have heard of the tragic shooting that happened in my community of Scarlock, North Carolina, Hope County, North Carolina, in which 2 people were shot. One, I don't know the status, was fighting for their life in the hospital. I, on my little old Social Security, me and my wife check ain't nuts. I believe that little is much when God is in it. So we went out. I used my social media, a huge following, and we were able to provide Christmas cheer for those families. No, I don't want no joy. I don't want no hat clap. That is how great leaders are made, Hope County and Rockfish. You know, Senator Britt mentioned about violent offenders needing to be punished more severely. And I am in agreement. I spoke to this elderly lady, a great person in this community, and she spoke of the cutest shoe hanging on the road. That points to gang violence. That points to drug activity. A lot of times, you're right, Senator, homeless people have mental illnesses. And not just mental illnesses, they have drug addictions. I'm reminded of my role model, Mr. Ron Barnes of the Lumbee Tribe of Greater Hope International, of which we church, who just recently took it upon himself to start with professionals like Mark and people of that capacity that have the education to combat the opioid addiction. The opium addiction and drug addiction here in Hope County is awful. We just received a about $50 million available funding for that. 10 million of that, five each year, each 2 years, was given to Greater Hope International, which we church. Do you realize that Hope County current commissioners have not even developed a plan of action or even requested any of these fundings to help get rid of the opioid addiction and the drugs and the stuff that fuels the gang violence? My. We need leadership. We need more work, less talk. Hope County, North Carolina. During my short time of being here, I have established Faith Fest, in which it brought revenue to the hotels, the one hotel here in Hope County. It brought revenue to the community during the midst of this pandemic, in which we gave away 400 and something school supplies and book bags to the children of Hope County to prepare them to go to school this year. No, don't clap for me, clap for God, because greater is he that is in me than he is in this world. And I vow to you, if you vote me for your Hope County Commissioner, I will always consult the big man upstairs, Jesus Christ, my Lord and personal Savior, and I will put the citizens' concerns, comments, and questions into a blueprint of action. Amen. That's what we need to do, Hope County. And I also started an organization for Stop the Violence. I believe that we can learn a lot from our following candidates. You know, when Sheriff Bernice Wiggins just got elected, and yes, he is a Republican, and yes, I'm a Democrat, but more than that, I'm a people's person, and I love you, and all of you, whether you're Democratic or Republican. You know, he done a program working with the ministers and the churches called Badges and Bibles. Badges and Bibles program. If you win and I get my seat, I'll be more than willing to work with you on programs. I have extensive knowledge from Robinson Community College, as well as my wife, in how to get grants, how to do social media marketing, and my greatest strength lies in the nonprofit sector. I believe that nonprofits, I think you mentioned that, and civic organizations can be and are the backbone of reaching the people who have addictions, habits, and hang-ups.
3 minutes.
Any questions?
I have a two-part question from the live stream. The first one says, we are building more homes than we have job opportunities. And the follow-up is, builders come in and make millions and leave the county dry, holding the bag to cover implementation without the funds needed. What's your response, please?
My response is we definitely got to create revenue. One of the things that I would like to do is also take acknowledgement from Robinson and Hope County. I would like to see the Hatch transportation system put advertisements on the buses and use that as a means to create revenue. And last time I checked, Miss Nancy Thornwood said that we don't even have enough drivers, my God, to drive the current transportation vehicles that we have. We could create more jobs with that.
1 minute. I think that districts are a good thing. They will allow certain areas to get the people that they need into office to direct the issues of that certain community. And I also think that we might need to consider working with our legislation to shorten the terms, because a lot of them, like you said, just stay in, stay out, and all you get is talk, and no results. So thank you for your question. 1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Barber. God bless you. Thank you. God bless you. Now we'll have Mr. Hal Nunn for Mr. Johnny Bowles. Johnny Bowles is running for the Hope County Commissioner, and Mr. Nunn is going to speak on his behalf.
Yeah, I'm up here speaking for a good friend of mine, a church fellow friend, Johnny Boyles. He has decided to step up and put his name in the hat to run for county commissioner in Hope County. Johnny is a Christian conservative man. I've witnessed his walk with the Lord myself, and he's from Hope County. 48 years in law enforcement. He serves on the Law Enforcement Committee in Raleigh. He's also on the Farm Services Committee for Farm Bureau. He is a commercial real estate guy, also residential. You may know him from when he owned Upland Trace Golf Course, which is Arabia. I know some golfers out here. He's big-time supporter on the military, veterans, and probably the biggest thing for Johnny Bowles is his agricultural background. The man knows farming, and we've got some farmers in here. It's the #1 crop in North Carolina. It's one of the ones in Hope County that we sometimes overlook. Johnny said he wants to bring the farming community back together in Hope County, invest more in education, raise teacher pay, stand hard for the farmers, make sure we keep our low taxes, but we need to develop some commercial growth and some corporations and military contractors.
Yes.
Mr. John Bull. We have now Dr. Lynn C. Carr, candidate for Hope County Commissioner.
Good afternoon, good evening. Second afternoon. I want to, firstly, I want to thank Mr. Larry Chasen, the Rockfish Chamber of Commerce, as well as the...
No, we're the Rockfish Community Volunteer Board.
Yes, and the concerned citizens here in Rockfish. I want to thank you for inviting me. First of all, I would like to begin an introduction of myself. My name is, of course, Lynn Carr. I'm an advocate for social justice as the national president of the National Congressional Voting Caucus for Human Rights. Also the senior pastor of Emmaus Cathedral, Greater Pentecostal Assembly Church here in Rayford, North Carolina. Also a certified agent for the United States President's Volunteer Service Award, Lifetime Achievement. I also, in conjunction with AmeriCorps and the Points of Lights, and a successful multifaceted business owner of Emmaus Corp Embassy Enterprise Group, LLC. I have made economic development a top priority for my candidacy. And the reason I'm making economic development a top priority for my candidacy is because Hope County, we can do better. With what we have now and the priorities that are being put forward now is just out of sync with growth and bringing in revenue. For one, when I deal with priorities, I look at what they've already done here in Hope County, the Hope County Commissioner Board, current board, and I believe that there's going to be a referendum on them this go around, because even though we believe that we must, provide things for our children, but right now we are mid-COVID-19, and I do not believe that we need a swimming pool at this time, and I believe that was a wrong spirit, a wrong vote that they took. When you look at individuals, my church, a lot of them are here today, a lot of my supporters, we go out into the woods 5 days a week, and we feed the homeless, we feed the poor. And by the way, I want to thank the current County Commissioner Board for their at least pronouncing here recently that they will be taking up trying to build a homeless shelter. However, we've been working on this since last year, our committee, but I just want to say thank you for taking that up. But don't you think it's a little bit too late? Because we've had a lot of individuals to die. I was given information on the individual we was feeding who had cancer, and he also lived, he was homeless, he lived in the woods. He died on their watch. He died. We have a heart problem when we cannot take care of the poor. We have a heart problem. We have a heart problem when we think that it is important, more important, to build a swimming pool that no one can get in right now. We have a heart problem.
Yes.
We have a heart problem when we have no homeless shelter here. We have a heart problem. I'm talking about Hope County.
Yes.
When we feel that it's okay that an elderly 84-year-old young lady called our church, have nothing but 2 cans of pork and beans in her cabinetry. We have a heart problem. So this is why I made economic development my top priority. If there's anything I know as a risk management specialist, it is the intricate nature of understanding building infrastructure, budgeting and governance, minus unnecessary red tape that causes potential business enterprise from shying away from overzealous and out-of-touch law, policy, and regulatory makers who do not understand that overtaxing and regulating prevents jobs, and it prevents job growth. And inevitably prevents viable and sustainable attractions to a specific county. It is vitally important that Hope County improves its ability to attract and retain companies. Before, I noticed that one of my opponent's slogan, and he believed it wholeheartedly, said if it's not broken, then don't fix it. But I come to let him know Hope County is broke and it needs fixing. And if you consider me as one of your viable candidates, I'm not a sellout. I will not sell our people out. It's time for a change. If they have a vision policy, I believe they've been working on for 17 years now. If you have not fulfilled that vision policy in 17 years, it's time for you to go. It's time for new vision. Now, very briefly, for the sake of time, let me just carve out what my priorities are. As a candidate, a viable candidate for a Hope County Commission, and as a compassionate candidate, vying for Hope County Commission, I vow to work hard in cutting taxes and cutting out unnecessary and wasteful court spending by investing in the people and businesses that's the bedrock of our county, our citizens. It's time now to build a human infrastructure here in Hope County. And it's time now to tell those ones that have been sitting in office getting fat like a fat cat on our board, it's time for you to go. Providing a 21st century innovative and comprehensive transportation solution to compensate the constant and ever-evolving growth of Hope County. And a matter of fact, I'm not just a talker, I'm a doer. I bought 20 cars over the summer, preparing to go before the board, if they approve me, to get my license, so that we can open a taxi service right here in Hope County, North Carolina. Because we need viable transportation, because there's elderly people that are staying on the far ends in the outskirts of this rural county, and we need a viable transportation service. They need to go to the grocery stores, they need to go to church, they need to go to their medical doctor's appointment, and I vow to stand for that. We've already put our money where our mouth is. We're also ensuring responsible growth by investing into infrastructure projects that would change the face of the old political guard's outdated and antiquated vision of yesteryear, trailblazing the long overdue mandate to build an additional state-of-the-art traditional high school to relieve overcrowding and education disparities. Right here in Rockfish, North Carolina. I want to work collaboratively with law enforcement and the school board to make sure we have the proven safety solution ready and in place to protect our kids in response to recent police brutalities, murders of black, brown, Asian, and poor whites across the United States. I look forward to sitting at the think tank table of our elected sheriff and elected county commissioners to assist in creating policies that will provide every citizen of Hope equal and humane protection under law, including protection and safety of our law enforcement personnel. I want to address the very real homelessness issues that faced Hope County for years with no viable solution being put into place. I believe that this commitment to establish, I commit to you to establish in collaboration with other board members, a homeless shelter and voucher program for families of Hope County who has found themselves displaced and including a graduating homeless rehabilitation program. I don't have time to explain it all, so you can visit www.litcard.com. I break it down. I understand that the county commissioners are now talking about opening up that shelter, but we trailblazed that issue. Thank you for your signage, but we need it done. We don't need empty promise. It's re-election. Don't forget, people.
One question. Okay, we're out of time, but we're gonna let you answer 2 questions only.
Okay. You talked about the infrastructure and whatnot.
Yes,
I'm the chairman of the Rockfish Chamber of Commerce,
yes, sir.
okay? I'd like to meet with you personally.
Yes, sir.
The main question is, we need, or can you get brick and mortar stores and, commercial operations in here so our kids, when they graduate from school, can get a job without having to go to Cumberland County and work in Fayetteville and burn up gas to keep their parents from having to go to work so they can go to work.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. On my own dime.
Very swiftly.
On my own dime. A lot of you that know me have watched me fly all summer long and all spring. And as part of our priorities, we go to our website, we break down. We've spoken with Apple, who's now coming to Raleigh, North Carolina, and they have committed that they would open a satellite facility right here in Hope County. But we have to understand one thing, there is a give and a take. We must be able to give them a tax incentive to bring them in here. We must bring, also, I've spoken with Amazon, they would like to come in here. So we do have companies that are prepared and ready to come into Hope County. So we've been working, and so to your answer, yes, sir. I'm all for it, I'm 100% behind it, and I've already started working on it.
1 question left, Ms. Brock.
In your opinion, I understand that a gambling house is not supposed to be within 500 foot of a church or a Christian school. Right here, less than a quarter of a mile is 3. There's a church across the street from one, right there from one, and a Christian school right across from the other. Now it's supposed to be skilled, but during our church time, people are in there gambling, and it is a gambling place, they just covered it up. We did have a bad place here where we had shootings, they had teenagers on drugs and everything else, they finally shut down, but they've opened back up. What would you do about trying to close these 3 in our community within our church district?
Well, so very briefly, I will say this, that I do believe in enterprise. However, we do know that the Supreme Court the courts are still dealing with and grappling with that issue. Until the courts answer the question, I stand with our beloved Sheriff Peterkin. I stand firmly with him. That, Sheriff Peterkin, who believe in that those gambling facilities should not be operating in our county.
Yeah.
So I, as a county commissioner, until we hear otherwise from the courts, would vote to shut them down. And I would instruct law enforcement to get on top of it.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. Let's give him a hand. Thank you. Next, we have for County Commissioner, Ms. Stephanie Carter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Carter, and I'm going to take a few minutes to introduce you to who I am, because I'm assuming that most of you don't have a clue. I moved here from Texas in 2005 with my family. We live in the rural parts of Hope County over on Turnpike Road. My father worked for Smithfield Foods and had a desire for a long time to start a farm, and until we moved to North Carolina, when we moved to North Carolina, gave us the opportunity to. Working on that farm helped pay for my college education. I went to Appalachian State University and graduated in 2013 with a marketing degree. Thinking that I was going to go out in the world and help other small businesses get started, little did I know, though, that God was going to call me back to our farm and start a business there. And so after graduating, I came back and started managing different portions of our farm and looking around the community and trying to see where and how we could bless and serve the community. And so after doing research and development, we decided that starting a goat dairy was a great option, and how that could bless so many people that are allergic to cow products. And so that's been something that I wanted to do with our business, is serving the community. There's so many other jobs and opportunities and businesses I could have started where I could have made so much more money, but that's not what I want to do. What I know that God's calling me to do is to serve the community and best take care of the people here. My mother, from an early age, wanted to get us children, I have 2 older brothers, they both served in the military, and a younger sister, involved and engaged in community and the politics on the local and state level. And so at an early age, we would be thrown into the van and go around the neighborhood in different parts of the state, handing out information for different political candidates. And that was something that she had really wanted to pass on to each one of us, and that was something that I've taken through college and want to always be engaged and encourage my friends as well. So that's a little bit about myself and who I am. So what would I be? Why do I want to run for commissioner? And what would be? What are my goals? As a small business owner and an entrepreneur, I think a lot of things that I've had experience of and learning, I can easily take into the role as commissioner. Being that there's a lot of economics involved. So the macro and the micro that I've learned, record keeping, bookkeeping, how to balance a checkbook, a lot of that stuff we don't have right now, and it's not being checked. We have a ton of wasteful spending, and we need to reevaluate all of that. And as a small business owner, that's what I do all the time. I'm constantly evaluating different areas of it, saying, oh, well, we need to cut this out, we need to cut out this, it's not making sense. And that's what we need to do. As a representative of the people, we are responsible for that. We're responsible for those tax dollars. And that's a heavy load, and that's a heavy burden that I would take in as a commissioner. Also, a small business owner, I want to see other small businesses here, and I want to see Hope County grow and thrive. And I want to take what my experience is and help other people get started with their small businesses too. A big portion of what I want to do is saving and protecting the farmland, kind of like what Johnny Boyles was doing as well. We are one of the few counties left of the 100 counties in North Carolina who do not protect our farmland. And it is going by the wayside, as y'all can see, housing developments left and right coming in. I'm also I serve on the Hope Soil and Water Committee. And we don't have the water we don't have the water and the septic tanks and all that's coming in is a big concern. So those are all things that we need to take into consideration. And another thing is we're looking at the schools for school choice, but also bringing in trade schools. I spent 2 years driving to Sand Hills for my welding degree. So, we need to have welders, we need to have electricians, we need to have here in Hope County. It wasn't a big deal to drive, but I still had to drive to Moore County. We need to have more of that in Hope County. We need those trades. You don't have to go to 4 years of school. You've got so many other opportunities here, and those trade schools can really offer a lot for school kids. And then the last thing is just unifying the county. There's so much division in the world and the United States right now, so I would love to take that and really just unify the county as a whole. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Let's give her a hand. Now we have Mr. David.
Larry, just one question.
Your one question, Hope.
What is your position on individual property taxes?
Okay,
So
should we pay tax?
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
This year, the value of my personal pickup truck
Yeah.
went up $5,000
Okay.
from last year
Wow.
without any reason whatsoever. So of course, my property taxes for that went up along with that.
Right.
What's your response to that? What do you think?
Well, I know that individual and the property taxes are needed in order to pay for certain things. That one would probably have to be evaluated. I don't know. Paying, so, let me think about that and get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, Mr. David Quinn.
Most of you, a lot of people in here know me. I remember, I started, the first time I ran for county commissioner was about 5 years ago. Campaign started then. And I came out here similar to an event like this. And after I told everyone who I was and what I wanted to do, a gentleman sitting at the end of the table there said, well, are you like most of the politicians that come out here and ask for our vote and then go away and we never hear from them until the next election? No, I've been here several times since the elections, many times since the elections, and I come back because I told that person that I would be back, and I want to know what's going on this side of the county. I live on the west side of the county. I want to know what's going on everywhere in the county. Now, I was going to sing a song, Larry.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, and I was going to sing the old state song. It's called The Old North State, and I'd like everyone to join in with me here. How many know that song? Do you? I have tried to learn that. I'm telling you, you can't. It's tough. It's tough, so I won't. But anyway, let me introduce myself. David Frump, not to be confused with someone close to that name. I spell mine with an F, and I have a lot less money. You might know that. I bought a farm here with my wife in 1987, a farm that we've got on the west side of the county. Beautiful place. I've been around the world. My wife and I both retired from the Navy, and I put 25 years in the Navy driving ships around the ocean. And my wife retired from the Navy after 23 years as a pilot, a Navy pilot. She was among the first female aviators in the Department of Defense. And we decided we were looking for the perfect place to live, isn't everyone? And we ended up here in Hope County. And I can't think of another place I'd rather live. I've been on 3 oceans, many lands, and this is the place to be. But the time is coming now that we are experiencing a wonderful opportunity in this county to move forward, which, by the way, is my campaign slogan, Hope Forward. We've got a great opportunity to move forward now because we've got tremendous growth in the people coming into the county. Lots of homes being built. 500, I think, is one of the numbers bannered around. And that means a lot more income, not income tax, but personal property tax coming into the coffers. And rightfully so, because it costs a lot more to run a county when you've got more people in it. So it's important to keep up with that. There's a lot more money coming in. And also, all of the homes in the county have been reevaluated. I don't know if you know that. And the new taxes kick in this year, according to the reevaluation. And we all know that evaluation goes up, and so will taxes. Okay, I would like to see a very close review of that to see if we can't cut the income tax rate so that we can mitigate against the taxes going up for the everyday citizen here in Hope County. Admittedly, we need more money to run the county, and I think everyone will agree to that. But we need to spend that money wisely. Now, the current commissioners have done a fairly good job getting us where we are, but I think they've not done it fast enough. I don't think they've looked forward to see where we need to go in this county. It's extremely important to have a long-range plan. Our land use plan, for example, is 15, I think 17 years old, and it has not been updated. We've had 2 major commands move into Fort Bragg, which has caused a lot of this growth. And also the Special Forces Command has tripled in size. But there has not been an updating of where we are going. There are going to be a lot of jobs coming because there's going to be a lot of services required for these new houses, for these new people. but we need more than people in the service industry. The service industry just doesn't pay enough, gang. You can't run families on just service industry jobs. Ask anyone that works at McDonald's, you know that. And you can't keep up with work and things like that. We need to develop our economic stance here in the county. And I think the way to do that, one way, is to go out and form a core of business people, people that are really key workers in the business, key owners, key business people in the community. A core of, if you will, people that go out and sell the idea of Hope County. Tell people what Hope County is about, what they need, what Hope County can do. We've got a tremendous school here, the Sand Hills Community School. It's growing. We need to encourage that school to fashion their courses so that we can get businesses to come in. And the way we do that is to talk with people in business. And that will make the economy grow in this county and also provide important jobs that pay really good money. So economic development is very good. I think that we've recently spent money like drunken sailors, and believe me, in the county, and believe me, I know how drunken sailors spend money. But, for example, and it's been mentioned several times here, 5 years ago when I started running for county commissioner, I coined the term pools before schools, and that is exactly what has happened. Now we have a pool, an aquatic center, if you will. I have no trouble with teaching kids how to swim. They need to know how to swim. They need programs, they need schools, but we need schools, classrooms, where people can learn and then worry about pools. We're behind. Our infrastructure in this county is behind, way behind. Anyone who's been in the county and driven by the courthouse or served in the jury duty on the courthouse knows that thing is a crippled building, and it needs to be replaced. Anyone who's been in the county could have seen that, but there was no plan until recently. There is a plan now, and I don't know how far that's going to go or how soon, but there is a plan. Okay. Another, if you will, a failure. On the other side of the county, there is a industrial park, and it's got a facility in it that could make ethanol gas. Ethanol. It has twice failed. The park was put on county-owned land with a good portion of land given away. 2 companies went bankrupt, and what does the county have to show? Nothing for it. And at the very same time that industrial park was being put in there, and ethanol was being put in there, an ethanol plant, they were closing ethanol plants in Iowa because they couldn't make it pay. Iowa is where the tall corn grows. So think about it. What do we need to do? We need to develop a plan. My background, like I said, 25 years in the Navy. In undergraduate school, I had a degree in sociology, concentrating in urban planning and city development. I have a master's degree in strategic planning, and that is long-range planning, as the name indicates. And I also have a master's degree in foreign relations.
1 minute.
So I'll wrap it up with that, but I am eminently qualified for the job. I want to do the job. I've been a good leader all my life. I'm a good organizer, and I want to serve with people that on the board that can make Hope County move forward. My good friend Chris Holland back there is going to be following me, and I've worked with him. He's a good man. Certainly he would be good on the board. And I don't know Stephanie very well. She certainly should be good. But I've heard a lot of good ideas here, and I'd like to see them continue. Questions?
One question from the live stream, says, I would like to know what can be done with so many abandoned homes, land, buildings, and the turkey factory.
Oh, thank you for asking that. I have been talking to everyone in the county, not everyone, of course, people in leadership in the county. There is a burned out store in my neighborhood, burned out. It was speculation that it was an insurance fire. It's been sitting there 6 years now. The cans, the stuff has never been removed. It's a terrible place. There are places like that all over the county. There are playgrounds for little children. You know, they're abandoned buildings. The turkey plant, that's a real problem. It belongs to, it's private property. So, you know, it's a tough nut to crack. But the county has nothing in place to demand removal of buildings that are derelicts.
Time's up.
Can we, I
You
saw one
finish your
hand.
question, and we'll move forward to the next one.
Go ahead.
So, of course, I'm a Democrat. However, I believe in inclusive.
I love you anyway, Lynn.
Yes, inclusive governance. And the reason, and I mentioned that is, at a time, especially amid COVID-19, where do you stand with bringing the inclusive, going beyond party lines to build hope? Something I haven't seen my party, who's pretty much in charge, do since my tenure living here, crossing those party lines and coming together as a community to get these things done. Where do you stand with inclusiveness?
Can I very briefly 30 seconds on that?
Yes, sir.
I think parties are, you know, hard party recognition is overrated. I'm a Republican, and I've always been a Republican, but I don't think that's important in an election at our level. It's the mindset that is, good business, for example. Now, how has our party helped develop the community? We've had, in the last year, we've had, I think, 3 Back the Blue days. We've had, we've called in the police force, bought them dinner, had signs out, asked people to come in and talk to them. Both firemen, Back the Blue people, the police officers, county police as well. We have adopted part of Highway 401 to clean the community up. We're the only one that has a sign out there. Republican Party has adopted this part of the county. We've given a great portion of money to the soup kitchen, including food and money. We put a check, we gave them a check not too long ago for, I think it was $1,100, just, you know, that we got together and did some things to raise funds, and we did that for the soup kitchen. We did it for the community.
Okay.
There were other things we've done too, but that's it.
Now we have Mr. Chris Holland.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Holland. So the Army initially brought me here in 1993. I came up here in the mountains when I was a little kid, but came here permanently in 1993 and became a Hope County resident in 1999. Did 25 years in the military, retiring as a first sergeant. Decided to stay here at Fort Bragg, stay here at Hope County. There was good jobs at Fort Bragg, and it's a quality place to raise a family. Also currently the vice chairman of the Hope Republican Party. In 1999, when I got here, Hope County was still a rural county with a primary agricultural-based economy. A lot's changed in the past 23 years. We've experienced unprecedented growth in population and housing. While expansion is encouraging, I believe that the path we're on is unsustainable. We need to have leadership and foresight to plan our community beyond the next subdivision. As our population increases, the strain on our public services will only become greater. I've spoken to several fire chiefs in the area and asked them, are they talked to when the zoning decisions are being considered. They said no. Resoundingly, they said no. One fire chief quoted to me and said, the only time I hear about new housing is when I read about it in the newspaper. Think about it, folks. 2,000 houses, stick-built, are going to be built in the Puffer Creek Fire Department or district in the next 3 years. They just bought a new fire truck to keep up with the demand they have now. Where is our leadership engaging the people who are providing these essential services to us? It's not being thought about. All right. While we are building houses in Hope County, Cumberland County is building an Amazon production facility that's going to provide $1.3 million in annual tax revenue, provide 500 jobs with an average salary of $33,000, and we're building more houses. This that's the type of investment that we need here in Hope County. And why was Hope County not considered for this project? That's a question that only the commissioners can answer, but I have an idea. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have a location with the sewerage, the electricity, or the water to handle a facility of that size. All right, we need to invest in our commercial and industrial zones with adequate infrastructure. I plan to invest tax dollars in revenue-generating projects, not just in projects that increase the cost to our community. As a commissioner, I will be closely involved with the Economic Development Board to ensure that they pursue these companies. We can't sit around and wait for industry to come to us. We have to go out and engage these folks and bring them to our community. It takes leadership to guide our community into a prosperous future. I'll provide that leadership. Our school system's made great strides in the last 20 years. When I got here, graduation rate was in the teens. It's now about 40%. But in the 2020-2021 school year, only 40.5% of the high school juniors met standard on the ACT testing. So think about that. Out of 100 kids, every 100 kids about to go into their last year of schooling, only 40 of them qualified to go to college. It's not the teacher's fault, but we need to do something to get after making the get after improving this situation. Hoke High has an excellent career and technical education program, but these programs don't address every student's need. Another reason why we must focus on attracting industry to our community, where typically a starter job only requires a high school diploma. Our teachers are some of the lowest paid in the state. Even with local supplements totaling $1,900 a year, they're still some of the lowest paid. Thanks to the Republicans in Raleigh, $100 million were added in this budget cycle to provide additional funding for county supplements. This funding might relieve some financial pressure. We as a community need to look at our revenue and determine how we can improve pay to attract and retain quality teachers. We also need to establish a public charter school in Hope County. A mix of public, private, and charter schools would give parents a choice for the best education for their children. The Hope GOP has worked with neighboring counties that have successfully implemented charter schools, but we can't do it ourselves. All right, we need engaged parents, business leaders. You don't have to be a school parent to be involved with this improving our education. Business leaders, parents, it runs the whole gamut. We need all the experience. So if you're interested in serving on the board of a charter school in the future, get a hold of the Hope GOP, and we'll put you in contact with the people who've done it, have been successful at it, and can guide you along the way. Republicans in the state legislature are cutting taxes and creating a regulatory environment that promotes job growth. North Carolina is the 5th fastest growing state in the nation for job creation. All right? These industries bring good jobs, leading to higher tax revenue while keeping our tax rates low. We need to emulate what our state representatives are doing right here in Hope County. The citizens of Hope County will have an opportunity to vote for me. I assure you that I will work to ensure that we create jobs, continue to improve our education system, keep our taxes low, and improve our quality of life here in North Carolina. I served the nation since raising my right hand at the age of 18 and swearing an oath to the Constitution.
I've been worldwide and across this nation and seen how great communities can be. I bring 30 years of that experience home to Hope County. With your help, we can create a brighter future for everyone. As former President Reagan said in 1998, America is a shining city on the hill. That shine comes from the reflection of the light of freedom and prosperity that shines across this land. Vote for me and let me help us make the light emanating from Hope County a brighter future for everybody. In closing, I ask for your vote of confidence and will work every day to prove you right for electing me. Go to Elect Chris Holland on Facebook for updates, ask me questions, or leave comments. I'd like to thank the Rockfish Volunteer Board for inviting us tonight and hosting this, and open for any questions.
Any questions? One question.
Yes, sir.
Now, just to be sure, I did read the article about the Hope County, I was there for a minute, board of county commissioners, stating that they did support new traditional school. However, it really wasn't really stated that way, because I'm concerned that some of those monies may go to try to refurbish the old school opposed to building a new school. So where do you stand on this issue? Do you believe that we should put those dollars in a new traditional school or an engineering school?
So I'm all for the engineering school, bringing that capability and that education and experience here to this county, as long as it's equitable to everybody. I mean, we got to determine who's going to get the enrollment in that school, right? It should be based on your grade performance, your school attendance, stuff like that. Those types of education, people have to earn it, not just give it to you for whatever. Now, as far as refurbishing and stuff like that, so from my understanding, talking to the school board a couple months ago, there was actually an elementary school in the construction pipeline before this pool recreation center.
Right.
But if you'll notice, a pool recreation center was announced during an election year. In November of this election year, we're going to have a ribbon cutting. Coincidence? I don't know. But we need schools. The teachers tell you, the school board will tell you that schools are overcrowded, schools are dilapidated. That should be our focus, is to improve the education. Just like David said, it's great to be able to teach a kid to swim, but swimming is not going to help him get a job to support a family.
Okay, we got one final candidate, Mr. Tony Hunt.
Probably not, but I would take it.
You gonna sing?
No, I'm not.
You gonna share?
Tony Shea. Well, I guess I'm the lonely commissioner here tonight. My name is Tony Hunt. That's right, I'm here. Been on the board now, the end of this term will be 20 years I've served on the board. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself, those of you that don't know me. I'm not homegrown here from Hope County. I grew up over in Robeson County, where Senator Brett talks about. Went to school there, graduated from Fairmont High School, left from Fairmont over in Robeson County, joined the military, stayed in the military for almost 9 years. Got out, and when I got out, I moved here to Hope County, where I first started working in Hope County as a local pastor in one of the rural churches. After pastoring for a while, I did a lot of volunteer work, PTO president, teaching Little League Baseball, all those kinds of things, and then I decided to put myself back through school. I put myself through school at Campbell University. I graduated with a degree in religion and continued to volunteer and work in my community. After volunteering for quite some time, I decided to run for public office. I ran and I won. I ran and I lost. And I ran and I won again. And I've been on the board now about 16 years altogether, and have seen a lot of the growth that we've had here in Hope County. Since I have been on the board, I'll talk a little bit about our growth and where we've come from.
There's been a lot of talk about our tax base. Let me first say that over the 16 years, almost 20 years that I've been on the Board of Commissioners, we've only raised the property tax one time. We raised it 3 cents when we built the Sandy Grove Middle School. Sandy Grove Middle School was a one-of-a-kind school. It was a private-public partnership that we entered into, first kind of it's ever been done in North Carolina and on this side of Mississippi. And what that was, it was a school that was built by private development. We leased the school from them for about 7 years, and then we bought the school. We took the school over for $1. That school generates more energy than it uses by the solar panels that are on it. And that's good for us because we don't have the light bills to be paid at that school. So that was a good investment that we made in that middle school. Also, during my time as commissioner, I led the effort to put in a wastewater treatment plant here in the county. When we first started that process, we knew that we needed the infrastructure to continue to grow the way that we were growing. With all the housing that was coming in, when I first got on the board, we was known as a bread and breakfast county. In other words, folks built houses here and went and worked somewhere else, and there was no businesses coming into the county. So we understood to be able to do that, when you talk to businesses about coming into the county, we were contracting with PwC to get sewer over along the 401 corridor. But the one thing that businesses said to us was that we don't want to build in your county if you don't own your own sewer, because you don't control the rate. So by you having your own wastewater treatment plant, we control the rate of what we charge our citizens and what we charge our businesses for that sewer. So by us building a sewer plant, which cost about $15 million, we built that sewer plant, it's up and running now, and after about, it's in the 8th year, and now in the 8th year, it has started making money for itself. And most sewer plants, when they're designed that it'll take at least 5 to 7 years for them to even break even before they begin to pay for themselves. Our sewer plant now is paying for itself. We're generating revenue off of it, and that's a good thing because now we're able to build along the 401 corridor and even in other places in the county with sewer that we're going to be able to put in businesses, that we can put in small businesses. A lot of the business that you see going up on 401 now is because of that sewer. And let me say this, why infrastructure is so important to bring more than just houses, but to bring businesses, is the fact that when we bring a business, when someone opens up a shopping center out there, they pay 2 types of taxes. They'll pay property tax, and everything that's sold there, there's sales tax. And as a county, we get a portion of those sales tax. And in the last 8 years, since we've got our wastewater treatment plant, our revenues that we get into the county from different streams, one is our sales tax. Our sales tax has grown from just being 8% of our local budget to this year in our audit, it was almost 25% of our budget. And you may say, well, why is that important, Tony? That's important because the more money we can generate, revenue off of businesses and sales tax, the lower we can continue to keep our property tax. And that's what everybody wants, is to keep our property tax down low. We did have a revaluation this year, and you do one every 10 years. That reval has not been given to us, what that value is going to raise up yet, but we'll look at it very closely, and we'll try to move that tax value to where it's not a burden too much on the everyday living person to pay their property tax. That's something that we're going to look at real close. There's been some talk about school. Well, let me just give you a few things about school. One is, commissioners
responsibility in schools is that we're to provide the funding to build the school. And that's all we have in it, is to provide the money to build the school. Where that school goes, what type of school that is totally left up to the school board. We do not pay teachers' salaries. We do give a supplement to teachers. And right now, that supplement is at 6%, and we fund that money to the school system to pay every teacher in our county a 6% supplement of whatever their salary is. Well, the state average is about 8%, 8.5%. So we're pretty close on that supplement. The other thing is that when it comes to schools, it's totally left up to the school board to tell us what part of the county the greatest need is for what type of school they want. So that's totally left up to the school board. Again, our responsibility is to provide the financing for that school. There's been some talk about our transportation in our county. Well, we have the Hope Area Transit, many of you know about. It will go anywhere in our county. You can call down to the office 24 hours ahead of time. Tell them when your doctor's appointment is. They'll set you up a schedule. They'll take you there. They'll take you to Walmart. They'll take you to any grocery store that you want to go to. They'll do those types of things. Our transportation, there is a shortage on drivers, but it's not because we haven't funded the positions. It's like any other jobs around here. There's the lack of people for those jobs. So we funded for drivers. We just can't find folks that are willing to drive, because a lot of it is part-time positions. They're not full-time positions. One of the other things I want to address, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, the aquatic center that's been mentioned so much tonight. Yes, that is a swimming pool that is going to be built within that gymnasium, a walking track that's going to be up over the gymnasium, that so folks can come in and walk out in and not have to go out into the weather. But that swimming pool that we're building is a competition pool. And there is another pool in there that'll be used for kids to come in, have parties, learn how to swim in. But that competition pool is being built solely for our swim team at the high school, so that they'll be able to come in, have their own meets here in Hope County, and not have to drive over to Laurinburg to the college and have those meets over there, where we have to pay a fee for them to go over there and use that facility. The other thing that we're going to be able to do with our aquatic center, we're going to be able to generate revenue, because what we'll do with that pool, that competition pool, we will lease it to other high schools that have swim teams that don't have pools. And we'll lease it, and they'll come over and have their meets here in Hope County at our facility. And the one thing that we're not going to give away in our facility over there is the concessions. We're going to run our own concessions regardless of who we lease to, so that we can generate that revenue to help sustain that building. So to be able to sustain that building, we wanted to calculate things in that could bring in revenue so that we could be able to sustain it. Any building that we build, and it belongs to Hope County, you have to understand, you're going to have to sustain it, whatever it is. If it's a homeless shelter, you're going to have to figure out, not only am I going to build a homeless shelter, but how am I going to pay for it in the years to come? How am I going to sustain it? And the only way that I can sustain a facility like that is with taxpayers' dollars. So we have to think about those things before we go and build those things. There has to be careful planning in those things. We're in the midst right now, and I'm going to close with this. With our infrastructure, we have almost all of 401 with sewer. We're bringing sewer in to Rockfish Hope Elementary School. We're going to leave from there. We're going to come down into Rockfish. We have a plan right now to come down into that basin. It's called Basin 3 in our plans. And hopefully, we're already talking with a business to come into Rockfish once we get that sewer down in there. And within the next 2 years, we're hoping to have that sewer over at the school and down into Rockfish. And all that's been done by careful planning and growth and looking at our growth and what's taking place in Hope County. I'll leave some time for some questions.
I got a
know I've got
question.
some.
I got a question. Commissioner Hunt, what do you think about the idea of putting advertisements on the, on transportations like they do in Cumberland, Robertson, and other bigger cities to generate revenue as well?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if Nancy Thornton would bring that to us and think that that's something that could generate some revenue, I don't have a problem with that. But we don't have a busing system like Cumberland County does, where they run buses, hour after hour on routes.
She said that y'all were getting one, that's the reason for
We're-
building the shelters and stuff.
We're working on that, and hopefully that's gonna work out, and that we're gonna have enough people to be riders that's gonna go to those bus stops. So that's a pilot program that we're working on, and we're hoping that it's.
Two questions.
I'll take the streaming fella.
All right, so,
I'm sorry, I didn't know your name.
that's fine. My name is Brian Martin.
Okay, Brian.
I'm a member of the Rockfish Community Board here.
Okay.
So my question to you, similar question that I presented to Ms. Carter earlier. You mentioned that the commission has only raised taxes one time in a certain period of years. However, I've never heard of a reevaluation that resulted in lower taxes. When you increase property values, you are in effect increasing taxes. What's your response to that?
Yeah, okay, you're right. When you revalue, it does raise up the value of your house, and it will cost you more money. Now, I will say this, and you can go back and fact check this, the last revaluation we had, we did neutral zero it. In other words, what we did, we lowered the tax rate to where the value that went up on the households almost remained the same. Now, the only problem in not allowing revaluation to take place and the value is because we have to understand the value of everything's going up. So unless we have a way of those values moving up, if we don't let them move up, then what that does is it restricts us from us being able to keep up with the needs that we have with what all the money that the taxes pay for, like public safety, education, parks and recs, and all those things, and our senior services. And just to mention about our senior services, we feed, we have several feeding places that we've had open and that seniors are able to come to. We go out and pick them up with our transportation. They come in, they get a hot meal, and we even have a delivery service to where we have so many seniors that we're delivering food to. I don't have the exact number of that, but our director, Miss Mary Hollingsworth, would be able to give you that number if you called her to senior service. I think it's gentlemen.
I attended a few community, your meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and we asked about the gaming stuff, and you said that it had changed it from 1,000 feet to 500 feet, and then we got in a heavy discussion there at the commissioner meeting, and you guys agreed with the Hope County, Rockfish County, Rockfish Community Chamber, that you guys would bring it back property line to property line, and afterwards it became 1,000 feet from brick to brick. They've got a gaming place over here across from the Christian school. It's 169 feet from brick to brick, but yet he's got a permit. Now, we've made complaints to Robert Farrell. Why isn't it that the commissioners haven't pulled their license?
I can't answer that question, but I'll certainly look into it. But if he's not abiding by his permit, then certainly we could look at.
Well, you guys told me right there, 3 violations, and you would pull they would call them before and pull their license.
No, I don't.
We have two more questions and that's it.
Yeah, Commissioner. So the pool rec center, we all know that, it's a bone here in the community, a bone of contention. Now, when it first was proposed, it was about $11 to $12 million. It's now at 28. Could we have not built a high school and had those contractors go in a pool with a whole team for $28 million?
The answer to that is probably yes.
Last question.
So not to get into the bond issue as well as the inflation that shall follow, my question to you, Mr. Hunt, is how do you reconcile your vote for the rec center opposed to where we have a courthouse that's falling apart, and we also have a school? Education should always come first. And I understand that you said that this is part of the school, but it seems like that's a cop-out to me. But because I believe that education should come first. So how do you reconcile your vote, and you voted for that, and prioritizing that over a high school, a traditional high school?
Well, my vote for that, I did vote for it and I support it, and I still stand with that support. And we build schools as they come requested from the Board of Education. We build those schools. And when we can finance those schools, we build those schools. This Parks and Rec Center actually has been in the planning for about 5 years. It's not just been the last 2 years, it's been in the planning for almost 5 years is what it has. The pricing, it has escalated a lot for the simple fact of inflation and the price of materials and things like that. But we'll get to talk about all that stuff down the road. This is gonna be a long year, I can already tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
I think tonight this has been an experience for everybody. I think everybody has learned about each one of the candidates, and on behalf of the Rockfish Community Volunteer Board, we want to thank you all for attending. Now, when you go in the booth to vote, we can put your face with the block. Okay? Now, the way it's looking, we're going to have another one. We're going to have 2 more. And right now, the election is still in the air. We won't know anything. But we have our community volunteer board every third Tuesday night. Now, you're welcome to come and sit in on the meeting, but you cannot be politically involved in our meeting. That's not a political time. The times that we've got, that I'm going to set aside with the permission of the other board members, will be the 28th of April. That is 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before the election if it's held in May. And if it's held in June, it will be on the 26th of May prior to the 7th of June election. You're welcome to come to the meeting, but there's no political functioning going to be going on during our meetings. Okay? We gather to make recommendations to make things better for our community. We've been having these community meetings now for almost 7 years. We've made a lot of progress. We've done a lot of good positive things. Those who've been a part of Rockfish all their life, like Brox and myself and other folks, nobody never thought that Rockfish would step up to the plate like we have. And we're doing a lot of things, got a lot of things in store. We've got a lot of organizations. Ms. Brock is taking care of some food. We have the Rockfish Chamber of Commerce. They're doing a lot of positive things. And it's all about making Hope County better. Amen? So this time I'll ask Mr. Brock to dismiss our meeting.
Again, as Larry said, we thank you for coming. It's an honor to have you, and we hope you have a good week. And we'll see you at another meeting at another time. Thank you and good night.